This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good morning and welcome to this special show where we take your questions to medical experts. We also talk about the latest breakthroughs in the battle against coronavirus right here on NDTV 24/7. This morning we're being joined by Shomi Goswami, consultant endocrinologist and associate editor of the Indian Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism. He's joining us from Kolkata this morning. We're also being joined by Dr. Anil Kumar Reddy, senior diabetologist with the Anil Diabetes Center in Nellore. He's also an ex-member of the Medical Council of India. Doctors, it's very good to have you on the show. I'd like to start this off by talking about something that's been in the headlines recently, and that is, of course, a new clinical trial that is being spearheaded by the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. At least 50 COVID positive patients are now going to be given Sepsivac as a potential form of treatment. It's a sepsis drug, which is believed that it might in fact have some kind of efficacy in severe COVID patients. If either of you would like to tell us a little more about this particular trial, if Dr. Reddy would like to go ahead.
Yeah, nowadays, first of all, let us all pay homage to the doctors who lost their lives, Sankita.
Yes,
it's
indeed.
Unfortunate. Yeah, so our All India Institute of Medical Sciences is doing a tremendous job on par with Oxford University. The plasmapheresis, all the new tests are coming up. It's showing positive results around the globe. We hope we'll come out of this crisis, the new treatment.
Dr. Goswami, anything you'd like to add?
I think Sepsivac is a drug which has been recommended for use in gram-negative sepsis. It reduces mortality by 50%. The way it acts is by preventing what is known as a cytokine storm. Now, cytokines are chemicals which help build immunity, but if they go into overdrive, they can hurt your organs. So a trial has been planned, and it's produced by an Indian pharmaceutical company, where Sepsivac, which is in fact a type of mycobacterium, could help build a good type of immunity and prevent a bad type of immune response. But it's early days. The trial has been planned.
Yes, indeed. Early days, and therefore all of this perhaps needs to be treated with some amount of caution. We'll open this up to our first caller this morning. Gopala Krishnan is joining us from New Delhi. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, good morning, NDTV. First of all, my respects to the entire healthcare fraternity for the immense service they are doing to the society.
Yes,
My
indeed.
question is, what is the relationship between the air conditioning and air-conditioned environment and the virus? We have come across advisories to the quarantine, the people that they should be kept in an open and well-ventilated rooms. So how difficult it is going to be in a city like Delhi when it is going to touch around 45 degrees in about a month's time?
Dr. Goswami, if you'd like to answer that, a question about air conditioner use and particularly centrally air-conditioned rooms. For instance, what happens when people do start trickling back to offices? These are shared spaces, these are centrally air-conditioned spaces. Does this increase the chance of infection?
There was a report from China which said that a restaurant with central air conditioning led to the spread of infection. So central air conditioning at this point of time is not safe. The standalone air conditioners which we use at our homes is safe, but if a patient or rather a suspected individual is kept in quarantine, it's preferable to keep the individual in a well-ventilated room, not use an air conditioner. And of course, if someone is a known COVID-19 patient, in that case, there's something called a negative pressure room, which is a special sort of air conditioning.
Dr. Reddy, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, we all know that government has taken precautions to close the air-conditioned malls, air-conditioned theaters. It's better, when the temperature goes high, the humidity goes high, the virus will fall down automatically.
Yeah.
It's better to keep doors open and avoid air conditioners as much as possible. It's my personal opinion.
Well, that is certainly going to be a challenge going ahead, particularly in the north where temperatures are already rising quite rapidly. But indeed, that is the medical advice right now, so people would be asked to pay heed to that. Let's also go across now to one more caller. We have Ganesh Rao, I believe, with us. All right, we'll try and dial him back in just a moment. But I do want to ask you, Dr. Goswami, about a few more of the medical breakthroughs in a sense that we've talked about. What about convalescent plasma therapy? We've recently heard of a case in Delhi where it seems as though a 49-year-old patient seemed to have recovered after he was given plasma therapy. Doctors, of course, cautioning there as well that it's not some kind of magic bullet. Other treatment was also given to him. But is there some amount of research that would indicate that plasma therapy is actually working?
Convalescent plasma therapy is something which is not new to medicine. It has been used for the last 100 years. The basic concept here is that you take ready-made antibodies from a person who is already infected earlier and infuse it into a person who has not built up these antibodies sufficiently. So in severely ill patients, there are anecdotal reports, including one from our country, where it could be beneficial. But again, there are challenges because it's costly. It takes a huge amount of effort to extract antibodies. So it's difficult to produce them on a mass scale. But yes, in certain cases, there could be promise of use of convalescent plasma.
All right. Dr. Reddy, do give us any specific advice that you would have, particularly for those who have underlying conditions. For instance, diabetes. Is there anything in particular that you would advise them?
Yes, we all know that India is the diabetes capital of the world. We have more than 10 to 15% urban population. They have diabetes. Unfortunately, diabetes is, in the state for slight immunosuppression. So people with diabetes especially take care because they are restricted to home quarantine or isolated state or in the house, not going for jogging, not doing any exercise.
Right.
Because of this, many calls are coming because especially, Ankita, the diabetic patients are in a panic mode. The stress levels are lead to higher dosage of uses of insulin as well as metformin, all these things. And also they must take care of their feet because they are frequently washing their feet and the moisture leads to foot infection. That care has to be taken by all Indian diabetic officers.
All right. Important guidelines there. Dr. Goswami, anything you'd like to add to that?
Nothing, just the fact that if you have diabetes, you are more prone to develop complications from the disease.
Right.
So you should be doubly cautious, maintain the usual precautions so that you do not contract it in the first place.
All right. We have another caller. Ganesh Rao is with us from Nasik this morning. Ganesh, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I just would like to know that are we trying with any other different kind of vaccines? Like we are experimenting with BCG, we are trying with hydroxychloroquine, or we are taking a plasma therapy. I just wanted to know that if this virus is originated from the bat, suppose there is a debate that it is either originated from lab or from bat. Suppose if it is originated from the bat, and suppose a bat bites a human, there is no known treatment for this treatment when the bat bites. So the only known treatment is the anti-rabies vaccine. So whether an anti-rabies vaccine can be administered to the coronavirus infected patient or not.
All right. That's an interesting question. Dr. Goswami, would you like to take that?
I think rabies and COVID-19 are different diseases. The mode of transmission is different. So in this case, it is not documented or it's not known whether a bat bite can cause transmission, but most likely it won't cause a transmission as such. Talking of vaccines, more than 100 vaccines are being tried across the world. And I think there was a report yesterday that an adenovirus vector vaccine is being developed by the University of Oxford. And the scientists there are hopeful that possibly by end September, they can come out with a vaccine.
All right. Let's take a few more callers. Dr. Yasir is with us from Srinagar this morning. Dr. Yasir, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Ankita.
Good morning.
My question is to Dr. Reddy that when a person, a few of my relatives, they came from abroad and after, after the quarantine period, it's been more than a month. Now they are at home. So is it safe for us to go there, meet them? I mean, of course, maintaining the social distancing norm, whatever is there.
All right, Dr. Reddy, he's asking about visiting a friend or a relative who's back from abroad. He's passed that sort of enforced quarantine period of 14 days. In fact, he's saying that it's been almost a month. Can he visit this person, keeping in mind social distancing guidelines also?
So there are some important things like the person is symptomatic or asymptomatic. Unfortunately, not one single negative result doesn't mean that person is negative always. That's more important thing. We are misleading things like in India, if one person comes one negative swab report, like he carelessly moving on. So we have to be more cautious. At least 2 reports of throat swab or nasopharyngeal swabs are mandatory before meeting any person who comes from abroad. Because isolation is different, quarantine is different. We should not get confused between the two. So we have to be cautious. At least 2 to 3 reports and 1 month quarantine is mandatory to meet anyone with a history of travel.
All right. One more caller on the line. We have Sam calling us from Goa this morning. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, good morning. My question is that we are talking about asymptomatic carriers and people who are having the infection but not showing the symptoms. So my first understanding is that those people will be having better immune system, therefore they are asymptomatic, which is in a way also good that if you are having high asymptomatic. My question is, if in a long, what is the time period? What is the viral cycle that the person will remain infected as well as asymptomatic? Will the virus after a period of time will leave his body, or will have its natural immune take over and get rid of the virus on its own? Like we have influenzas and we have viral infections which goes off over a period of time. Is it something like that? The asymptomatic patient will get rid of the thing on their own from their body? Their own immune system will take care of it?
Okay, Dr. Goswami, would you answer that?
Yes.
Someone who is asymptomatic has a better immune system, but at the same time that person could be shedding virus. So shedding of virus in respiratory droplets has been documented as long as up to 30 to 35 days. In stool, it could be there up to 39, 40 days. So again, it's important that if someone comes in contact with a suspected COVID-19 patient, he or she should quarantine himself or herself. At the same time, wearing of face masks, maintaining social distancing, respiratory hygiene, hand hygiene. These are important because you do not know who is an asymptomatic patient.
All right. Thanks very much for that answer. We have.
I would like to conclude.
Yes, Dr. Reddy, go ahead.
Yeah, this is an important, interesting question because we Indians, in Indian scenario, we have inborn, inherent, innate, incessant immunity from our childhood. Since our childhood, we used to play outside in unhygienic conditions. We must have not taken pure mineral water in our childhood days. That is a blessing in disguise. The question is very important, thought-provoking, because we have inborn, inherent, incessant immunity for Indian individual, and also in childhood, because most of the children are not get affected because of this reason, and also BCG vaccine has also played a key role in preventing the children to get this research and debated. And on one more scientific paper from UK recently published that Indian have mRNA specific protein. It acts as a shield against this coronavirus. So fortunately, we Indians are going to win this battle.
All right, Dr. Reddy, those are very interesting points you make. And a quick follow-up question from me and Dr. Goswami, if you would like to answer that. Would this in a way then explain why the mortality rate has been so much higher in other countries compared to Asian countries? I mean, of course, China's figures, there's been some doubts about whether all cases have been reported or not. But so far, even the Indian experience, if you look at, and indeed other Asian countries, what would explain the discrepancies?
Since this is an ongoing pandemic, I think it's quite early to comment on the mortality rates because you don't know the denominator. There could be a large number of asymptomatic cases out there.
Okay.
But again, certain countries, particularly in South Asia, have reported lower mortality. There are several hypotheses, one of which could be that we are inoculated with the BCG vaccine right when we are newborns. But the correct answer is not available yet.
Okay, fair enough. Arun Patil is with us from Mumbai this morning. Arun has a specific diabetes and blood pressure related question. Go ahead.
Good morning, doctor. I have diabetes and blood pressure and thyroid problem too. And also I own a medical store. I have kept the medical store closed from 22nd of March. I have not opened it because there are many people coming to my shop and I may get this corona.
Okay.
COVID-19. So I would like to ask how many months, how long I should keep close my shop and how long I should remain at home.
All right. That's a very interesting question. Here you have somebody who actually owns a medicine shop. And it's very important, as we've kept hearing from all government authorities, that essential services be kept open, and medicine shops, of course, fall under that list. But he's talking about this from a personal viewpoint. He's saying he has diabetes, he has blood pressure, and he doesn't want to expose himself. Dr. Reddy, what advice would you give him?
So naturally, diabetes and hypertension people are high risk of getting COVID. And these two diseases, along with thyroid, they have to take everyday almost a BID dose, twice-a-day dose. But let them keep the medical stocks for 2 months. But in Andhra Pradesh, all the medical shops are getting opened in 6 hours. We don't have any problem under the dynamic leadership of our Dr. Jagan Mohan Reddy. The medical shops are open. Most of the medical shops are open from 8 to 12 noon. But I advise people in the rural areas at least store insulin. That's more important life-saving drug for all the diabetic patients, along with hypertension, diabetes tablets for insulin. They must keep 2 months reserve. That's always ideal.
All right. Dr. Goswami, anything you'd like to share?
I think at the level of the community, which includes the medicine shop, if you follow the universal precautions, that is physical distancing, hand hygiene, respiratory hygiene, and if you ask your customers to wear a face mask, I think it's not an issue. You could still open your shop if you maintain these precautions.
All right. I hope that sufficiently answered Arun's question. Let's move on to our next caller. Jijo is calling us from Gurugram. Jijo, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning, and thank you for opening this panel. I think I really appreciate. I just had a question to both the doctors. See, being staying in North and very soon I'm planning to move into the South, back to Kerala where my family is there, and I'm asking this question more from a personal perspective because I have kids back home, and I have the fear of though taking all the precautions from moving from a north to a south and ensuring that moving into a COVID-prone free state for as of now, and coming from a state like Gurgaon and Delhi, what are the most important precautions that I should be taking? I do understand there is a self-quarantine required for at least 14 days minimum, but what is that you doctors, as doctors, who would recommend that we should look at just to ensure that we can avoid the spread?
So, Jijo, I assume you mean when actually travel is permitted, because right now, of course, you have to stay where you are. But as and when you can make that move. Dr. Reddy, if you'd like to answer that.
Yes, you are going to God's own country, Kerala, the highest successful rate in controlling COVID, and you are fortunate going back to, because of the Ebola exposure, the Chief Minister of Kerala has controlled extremely nice. The prevalence and incidence rate, the mortality rate in Kerala is very less, but without government permission, better not take. You will end up in quarantine Kerala. So that's the most precaution. And we all know that personal hygiene and other things, we all pretty well know that, all the things. But you need not worry unless until government gives the permission, better not travel. And Kerala is the best place, and you have the nice climate, and you are fortunate going back to a nice place with less mortality rate.
All right. There's a hurrah for Kerala there. But Raghuram is calling us from Hyderabad this morning. Raghuram, what's your question?
Yeah, my question is the doctors, whether they have been properly having some knowledge when they are sending these people to the quarantine. Several people are there in quarantine. They are dumping in some areas, but proper care has not been taken care. What type of solution has been given by Dr. Reddy? I am asking the question to Dr. Anil Reddy. What type of precautions to be taken care by the doctors and the police officers? because they are
Alright.
sending all the people.
Okay.
Because
okay.
suppose if anything goes wrong,
Yes.
whether they can get it or not, that is my question.
All right. Raghuram has a very pertinent question, especially when a lot of health workers are testing positive. We've seen the highest number in Delhi, but also now Mumbai reporting many cases, other places also. What proper steps or what precautions do doctors, nurses, indeed policemen who are frontline workers at this time, what are the precautions they need to take? Dr. Reddy.
So unfortunately, this COVID-19 is a symptomatic disease, and most of the people are not telling the truth. They are going into hibernation and not giving proper clinical history. So that's why most of the medical fraternity got confused whether to put them on quarantine, house isolation, hospitalization, and people are not at all cooperating when they are asked to stay in the hospital, because they are, they are meeting together and making this nonsense. And the safest mask, especially the medical fraternity, should be provided, whether it is a paramedical worker, lab technician, N95 mask,
Right.
for all the people who have come across Indian that's more important, because they are taking ordinary medical masks, unable to. So sometimes, the crowded all hospitals, novel virus and virus, so better understand the government capability. And
All
sometimes
right.
the
Dr. Reddy, I'm afraid we're losing audio with you. Dr. Goswami, if you would just like to sum that up for us in 20 seconds, extra precautions that frontline COVID workers need to take.
The frontline COVID workers who are at risk of being exposed to a patient should wear the full personal protective equipment. For others who are working in the community, wearing a mask, maintaining social distancing, maintaining hand hygiene is what is important.
All right. We leave it at that for now. We're completely out of time. Thanks very much indeed, Dr. Goswami and Dr. Reddy, for joining us this morning and answering a range of questions. We'll continue to take your questions on coronavirus and discuss all the latest breakthroughs as well here on NDTV 24/7. Do keep watching.